This is the District 2 Sports Podcast with your hosts, Gregory, Devin, and Big G, your voice for local sports in Southern Virginia. You can listen to this episode and hundreds of others on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
They're not in my top 12. They're not in my top 12. I told y'all. They're not.
Big G got his teams in and they all lost last week. So,
how did you get that? I got two teams in and one of them lost.
I need to throw one more shout out. I got a shout out to my little guy over there on the left, little Dev.
The spreadsheet is back out, and it's back.
Oh, you have one for basketball.
I got one for basketball.
Yes.
Really? You're not for Spurs? Okay. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Whoa,
So now
man,
we're going hot now. It's going hot.
For anybody listening tonight, or anybody paying attention, if y'all don't know, the mob is in the NFL.
Not a fan? Not a fan of the lo-fi?
That music was atrocious.
That was weak. I did not.
That was the first thing I wrote down. As soon as it started, I put, not crazy about this.
All right, so District 2 Sports Podcast, and we're back with another great episode here. We have the newly appointed head coach of the Northside Vikings basketball program, Coach Jake Paysour. Coach, how's it going today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. Looking forward to the conversation.
Well, I know it's only been just a few days since it was announced, but how has those few days been as a new face of the program?
It's been a little bit of a whirlwind. It's still a little surreal, but it's been great. Heard from a bunch of former players. Reached out. We actually had Cy and Michael in the gym yesterday for open gym, which was awesome. I get to play with some of those guys, and it's been great to. We announced it to the team on Friday, and had I guess our first official open gym yesterday. Had a great group of guys out there. Really getting excited about getting to work. So it's been awesome.
Hitting on something you just talked about, Cy Hardy. I mean, who just named the SAC Freshman of the Year. Did you? I mean, you've been assistant coach there. You saw him play. I mean, did you see this coming from him?
Absolutely. I mean, Cy just has a calmness and coolness about him, no matter what level he's at. No matter who the opponent is, what stage we were at in the season, he just always. He runs the show so well. I mean, his basketball IQ is just off the charts. Just phenomenal player. So I'm not surprised at all from him. I mean, you never know. A lot goes into that, right? Who all you're playing with and who all you're playing against. But they had a great year, and it was fun watching him and kind of talk to him as he adjusted to that next level. I had no doubt he would do great, but really kind of once he got his feet underneath him after the beginning of the year, really had an incredible year. So I'm really happy for him.
Well, Coach, you spent, roughly a decade and a half inside this program in different coaching roles, from JV assistant to JV head coach, assistant coach for different varsity. Now you're the head coach. I mean, does a long-term investment like that make this opportunity feel like just more personal for you and ready to go, get some wins out there?
Absolutely. We always say beginning of every practice, end of every practice, we break it down. It's Northside on 3, family on 6. And they really, we've always treated it like a family. And a lot of that is credit to, the coaches that have come before me with Coach Pope and, his whole staff for so many years with Coach Cool and Coach Wolf that we're together there. And just the impact that they've had on the community writ large here and on so many students that have passed through here. And so it's been incredible for me to, having been a part of that community for 14 years now, to transition to this role and just the support and the love that I've received from everybody here. It makes it that much more special. And I'm that much more excited about this opportunity. Absolutely.
Coach, I'm going to ask my question while I got internet service.
All right.
Before I call Starlink here. Hey, just kind of I don't know, maybe it's tongue in cheek, maybe it's a little facetious, but at the same time, I think back to people like, Krzyzewski. I think about Roy. Some of the things that they said that are going on these days, that they just didn't have the connection with kids on a certain level. Do you think, you coming in now, and I know you're following in big footsteps, no doubt. But do you think you add another dimension to the relationship with the kids coming up now?
I think it helps. Well, first of all, I gotta say I'm a Carolina guy. So let's be careful throwing the Krzyzewski out there. No, I'm kidding. But no, I think it definitely helps having been a part of the program for so long. I have a relationship with these guys that are already here. And I think that does help you get started on the right foot, but there's an adjustment period for all of us. There's a difference between the relationship between the assistant coach and the players and the head coach and the players. And so that's going to be an adjustment for me. I've got plenty of work to do there. But yeah, I think already knowing the guys, having worked with them for 2 and 3 years with a lot of them, you have kind of some of that baseline knowledge of their game and relationship with them as people. And I really look forward to working with them more as head coach now and making that adjustment, making that step forward.
Well, I know they named a building after him up there, and I think they gave him a key. And we kind of asked them a couple of weeks ago, were they going to let him keep the keys? So he said he was hoping he'd be able to get in and take some shots or something. So have you taken the keys away from him yet?
Absolutely not. No, I mean you can't take the keys from a guy with his name on the building. I feel like it's his spot there. So no, we'll bring him in whenever he will come in. Absolutely.
And Coach, obviously, you're not taking over for a cupcake or just middle of the road program. Obviously, we know that Northside has become an elite program. Obviously, this past year didn't have the season that you might have wanted. But I mean, is there any pressure taking over for Coach Pope and continuing that trend of success that he's kind of started there at Northside?
For sure. I mean, whenever you get a new job like this, there's always the pressure. I'd be lying if I didn't say there's obviously some anxiety about trying to live up to that. But at the same time, I've got to keep in mind, I'm not Bill Pope. I'm never going to be Coach Pope. And I'm not going to try to be Coach Pope. I am myself. I've learned a lot from him, certainly. He and I have worked together for 14 years. And I think I've spent more time with him than I do with my own family in some months of the year. And so there's a lot that we'll do that will stay the same. There's a lot of standards and expectations in the day-to-day way we run the program and way we operate that will stay the same. But, there will also be some changes that we'll make. It's a tough thing to move through as a new head coach coming in. But I'm excited about that challenge. I really am. I think we've got all the pieces in place. We've got great support. We got great folks at the school that are really behind the basketball program. And so I think there's every ingredient we need to have success moving forward.
Coach, hitting on what Devin was talking about, I talked to another coach last week, Coach Meeks there at LCA for football. He's kind of following the same kind of path you are. I mean, he's following Frank Rocco, who's won state championships. You're following Coach Bro, who's won state championships and whatnot. I asked him this similar question. When you went through that or going to interview for the process, where we put your name to the hat there, was there any doubt there, or is there anything like there, like, hey, do I want to do this? Or if not, what was that confidence there that gave you this, gave you to apply for this position? Sure.
This was something that I've thought about, that I've talked about with my family for several years now, is if we wanted to take this leap and make that jump at some point. And it's something I've been in conversation with Coach Pope. I've applied for some other jobs over the years. And, I think because we had those conversations already, it was a pretty easy decision to figure out, I definitely want to do this. This is my dream job. I'm excited to get started. I was excited to apply and go through that process when we had the chance, and it was a good opportunity to sit down with your folks in the administration there and talk through what Northside basketball is and what it could look like and what it's going to look like in the future. So it was really, I don't want to say it was a decision I made lightly. There was certainly a lot of thought, a lot of prayer that went into it. But it was something that I'd been thinking about for a long time. And so I was really excited for the opportunity.
and you said you're named just Friday, or named named to the public on
Mhm.
Friday.
Yep.
You've already had an open gym. What was the conversation
Mhm.
with the kids there? You know, you're stepping into the limelight
Mhm.
as the new head coach.
Yeah. It's, it's been a long wait. Your coach retired a couple months ago, and so they've been asking for, over and over again. So I've had to answer the question with patience for a long time of, let's wait. They're doing what they need to do to get this figured out. But that moment was just really cool to be, to step into that role. With these guys that I've been through it with them. We've coached a lot of them. We lose a lot of seniors, but we've got a lot coming back, and to sit down and see their reaction to it, and feel that excitement in the room was really cool.
And we mentioned before, like you were an assistant coach for JV head
Mm-hmm.
coach, varsity
Mm-hmm.
assistant. You've seen
Yep.
some kids come through that program from
Mm-hmm.
the JV level up to the varsity now. Now you're the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
How
Yep.
rewarding is it to be able to coach these kids as a head coach now that
Yeah.
you've been pouring some time in throughout the years?
Yeah. Super rewarding. It really is. I mean, I was the JV head coach for 8 years. And so you being able to have that impact on a lot of guys from their freshman year, 8th grade for some of them. I coached Michael his 8th grade year, and he went on up to varsity after that, and could list all the, like you said, we've had a bunch of guys that have had fantastic careers here that I've really had the privilege of working with, and so you being able to watch them grow from the time they come in, literally and figuratively. Guys come in sometimes, we don't see them for a couple weeks in the summer, and they come back and it's like, whoa, he's 3 or 4 inches taller. So I love that, but also just watching guys grow in leadership roles, watching guys grow in maturity level, how they interact with their peers, with their other coaches, is definitely the most rewarding part of the job. Just getting to see guys grow into themselves and become who they're going to be.
Coach, I'm a huge public school guy, so I love to see the tenure, and and I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody that goes to the private sector or whatever, and picks up one of these teams. I mean, yes, you got the best of the best, and you should win, and your coaching skills should stand out when you've got kids like that. But if I'm not mistaken, you guys lost a big man last year. And I know area school here where I'm at in Danville lost a big man to former school. How can you keep that from continuously happening? And I'll ask this another way: is there a way to bring those kids back into the public school?
Yeah, I'm a huge public school guy too. I've coached for 14 years. I've taught now for is going on 10 years, and so I really enjoy what they bring to the community. That it's really a space that people can rally around, and it's such a great playing field, literally and figuratively, for folks to come together. We always hate to lose guys. We definitely never want that. Different people take different paths. I think the only way to keep guys around is you develop that relationship with them, and make it a place, make it a program that people want to be. I think we've been really fortunate for a number of years at Northside, where we've had guys that come through that are tremendously talented. And we've had guys go on to the next level from here. You're doing 4 years here. You just talked about Cy and Michael. Michael playing football down at North Carolina A&T. Cy at UVA-Wise. We had Julian Wooden that came through and went to James Madison, right? So we've had guys go D1. You can follow that path where you stay at the public school for 4 years and get to where you want to be. And I think that's ultimately what I want as a coach, is to help guys make decisions that will help them to follow their dreams, right? To get where they want to go. And I'll do everything I can. And there are times where a guy or his family might think that they need to go somewhere else. My part of that conversation is always, I look at what we've done, look at our track record. It is possible to stay here and go somewhere. It's hard to begrudge a family for making what they think is a choice in the best interest of their son. And I certainly don't begrudge them that. I just think, our track record speaks for itself, and we want people to stick around here. We definitely will do whatever we can to make this place and this experience a worthwhile thing for them.
Coach, I'm gonna piggyback off my own question here.
All right.
How do we make the high school senior relevant again?
That's a great question. That's something we've kind of conversations we've had with a lot of our guys over the last few years. With the transfer portal, if you're a big program, why wouldn't you let a guy go to a small school first and prove that he can do it and get a couple years in a college weight program before he moves up? I certainly get where they're coming from. Some of that will be alleviated, I think, as they figure out the eligibility rules. That COVID year, I think, really was a great thing for the guys who missed out on a year during that, but it was really a tough thing where it kind of pushed everybody down a notch in the recruiting steps there. And so I think some of that will help get that going. But I hope that there are a lot of smart people out there working on that. I'd say that's probably above my pay grade. But I certainly will do everything we can for our guys to help them get where they're going. And, and there's still a lot of great ball. The flip side of that is that a guy can go to a D2 or D3 school with a legitimate dream of, if I do my job there and I'm really as good as I say I am, then I can move up. So that's kind of the flip side of that is, maybe you're not going D1 right off the bat like you would like, but it also means you have a real chance at some point to move up if you want. And I think a lot of the small school coaches have recognized that, and you really pitch that and try to help guys move up. I think it's tough I wouldn't want to be a college coach right now. Not having that continuity year to year is brutal. I think hopefully we'll keep figuring some things out and really do what's best for the student athletes.
Well, I know we put a lot of effort into, we have a podcast, of course, and we have interviews, and, our mission was to help kids, play on the next level, whatever level that may be, and get an education first and foremost. But I have never been demoralized in my whole life here in the last probably 6 to 8 weeks where we have tried, and I've made phone calls, and I'm not going to call out names and I'm not going to call out schools, but it has been humiliating, basically, talking or trying to even get in touch with folks to gain interest on somebody that may be an all-state player. And it's just, it's demoralizing. And I don't understand, the fact of not even giving somebody a shot, not even talking to a kid, not an interview. It's terrible. I don't understand it really.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in, and like I said, I would not want to be a college coach right now. It's a tough time. You're basically recruiting your own guys every year. You're trying to work the portal. You're trying to recruit seniors, and somebody's going to get lost in that shuffle. And I hate it when it's kids that deserve a shot. We keep making adjustments as they go along in the college game, and I hope they start making some headway, and I hope they keep in mind the people that need to be at the center, which is the guys that are there to continue their careers and get an education.
Coach, you've seen firsthand how a championship program handles adversity. Have there been any games or maybe moments in the past where maybe you got some lessons from Coach Pope where he tried to show you, hey, this is how you handle this adversity as far as leadership goes or resilience goes?
Absolutely. One of the things we always talk about is you got to move on to the next play. And that's such a hard thing. I think, not to blame social media as the boogeyman for everything, but everybody always sees the highlights and the good stuff. And they think all of a sudden, if I miss this layup, either A, somebody's watching and is going to, clown me on social media for it, or B, I missed that shot and it's the end of the world. I mean, just the way guys react sometimes. And so the conversation we have is just continual with guys is hey, you've got to have an attitude where stuff's going to happen. Best players in the world miss 45-50% of their shots. Steph Curry, if he hits 40% from three in a year, that means he misses 60% of his threes. You got to deal with the fact that you're going to miss some shots. You're going to turn the ball over some. And I think you have to deal with that as a coach. And I think that's one of the great things I've learned from Coach Pope, is he's just so cool and collected. And, he has always had that benefit of experience since I've been around him, where he's seen so much and seen, where if a team is down by 15 in the third quarter, yeah, we've seen this happen where we've had teams come back like that. And so you really have that belief that comes from a foundation of, we know we can do this. And so that kind of, he really always coached with a positivity, that whatever's happening, we're going to go on to the next play and we're going to play our absolute hardest every single time. And so I think that's really the only successful way you can deal with adversity, is to keep going. You keep competing. There are guys out there that they get down by 10 and they start messing around and it becomes 20 real quick if you don't approach it with the right attitude. And so I think the main thing I've learned is just how to keep going, how to keep playing. A lot this past year didn't go exactly how we wanted, but I was really proud of the guys, how they kept competing. I mean, the record was what it was, but I think there were a lot of games where we were right there and we were, plays away from where things could have been a lot different. And that's not to say that everything's super rosy and, where we were actually undefeated. You win and you lose for a reason. And we got work to do there, certainly. But I think you deal with it by moving on to the next thing, continuing to get better. Focus on the future, focus on the past as much as it will help you to move on and to get better.
And Coach, just kind of hitting on what you were just saying. I mean, with this being your program now, is there a certain identity or a certain MO, whether it's cultural or whether it's play style? Is there a certain identity that you want your Northside Vikings to be known as?
For sure. I think a lot of those foundational things don't change. That our expectation is that we play hard every time out, that you are always bringing good energy, bringing the desire to be a good teammate, to love the game, to compete. There's a difference between going out there and shooting around, and between going out there and really putting your heart and soul into it, and losing yourself in the game. And I think that's the expectation of all of our guys. I think that's certainly where I'm coming from, is that I'm here because I love the game. I wouldn't put the hours that I do into it if I didn't. I love the game. I love to compete. Anything I do, I'm going to try to win. And I expect the same of our guys, that they care that much about it. And that they care that much about the guys next to them in the locker room too. That they do it not just for themselves, but because we are trying to build something bigger than each individual guy there. We're trying to build a team. As far as play style, you always have to, I think, adapt to the guys that you have. I think that's one of the biggest lessons I took from Coach Pope. The offense we ran with Sion Michael was not the offense we ran last year, was not the offense we ran with Nick Price and Casey and Julian a few years back. You have to do what you can. You have to coach the players you have, not the players you want necessarily. And so, I like a lot of what we got around and coming back. And I'm excited about that. And we've already started, fitting together how we want to fit those pieces together. I think we'll still look like Northside. We'll still try to play up tempo pretty fast. Defense, I think we're not gonna concede any part of the floor. But yeah, a lot of that we'll figure out as we get into November and see what the team on the floor looks like.
All right, Coach, I'm getting into the controversial side of things. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. All right. So first couple games, you got your point guard. He's being harassed full court, obviously getting fouled, bringing the ball up court, obviously getting fouled. Yeah, obviously getting fouled, driving the lane to the basket, and, it's a foul. It's a foul. But
sure.
There's 3 stripes out there on the floor, and you're the new guy in town.
Yep.
You're the new guy in town, man. He'll get his later on down the road. I mean, is that something you prepare for?
Oh, absolutely. You talked about facing adversity. One of the main places that shows up a lot of times is the calls on the floor. I think we've got a great group of referees out here that do their absolute best to call a fair game and do a pretty good job most of the time. It's one thing we always tell the guys, let us handle the referees. Your job is to play. You go out and, I know you're getting hacked out there. I get it. But we can't change that. And so we got to keep playing. And I will absolutely be sticking up for my guys every second of the game. That's another big thing I've learned over the years is how to referees are people too. And you have to have conversations like they're going to be influenced by that conversation for better or for worse. And so treating them with as much respect as we treat our teammates and treat the opponents there. We're not going to get every call. I know we're not. You ask 2 coaches after the game how the referees do, and I think they probably end up both saying the other guy got all the calls. I mean, they got every 50-50 call, and so it is going to be what it's going to be. But I will also always stick up for my guys out there for sure.
Coach, I want to reminisce for a second, a little fun here.
All right.
Gosh, I forgot what year it was, but I'm going off the players. You're talking about Nick, Julian.
Yes.
Actually, I don't know if Nick was on the team or not, but we were at the Chance Harmon Classic. You guys are playing Trinity, I think Episcopal out of Richmond.
Yes.
Devin and I were there. We're watching you guys warm up, watching them warm up.
It was the year after Nick.
Okay, yeah. That's like, I was like, I didn't think Nick was there, but they had some big kids on the team, and everyone's like, well, I think Trinity's got this, and I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I just feel like Northside, and they've played some tough teams over the past years. Played against Kobe White in the past as well. Yep. Just talk about how special that team was. Just watching Jillian and Casey out there on the court.
For sure. I mean, just 2 incredible players and 2 incredible teammates too. I mean, we were really fortunate to have them and the pieces around them. I mean, Jalen Jackson played a huge role that year. We really didn't. The record was great all the way along, of course, but we really didn't hit our stride until Jalen figured out. And it was that Trinity Episcopal game. He came out and said, put me on the point guard. I'm going to lock him down. And he really at that point became kind of our go-to defensive stopper, which at that point he was really he was a shooter. I mean, he just fantastic shooter. He played a year JV for me, and I will never forget there was a game against Allegheny where he hit 7 threes in a quarter. And I don't know how they kept letting him get shots, but he did. So he had always been a shooter. We knew he was that, but really we found our identity really around that game where he became just kind of a junkyard dog kind of guy where we could stick him on whoever. I mean, that was a fantastic game. Henry Coleman, who's been a couple play, I think he was at Duke and Texas A&M, and I forget where he was last, but yeah, I mean, just super physical player, played hard, big guy. They ran this little cross screen for him down the stretch, like 2 or 3 straight times, and he got buckets on it every single time. And then for whatever reason, they went away for it, and we pulled away and finished it off down the stretch. But that team was, it was so funny. So you mentioned Nick Price graduated the year before that. Really, the team in 2018 was just a phenomenally talented group of guys and a great group of guys too. I speak highly of the 2019 team, but that 2018 group was great as well. Just didn't quite, and we ran into a really good, very disciplined, very physical Western Albemarle team down the stretch in the state semis there. And when those Nick and Shea Webb, who was out most of that year, and guys graduated, I think a lot of people kind of thought Northside's missed their best shot. But we kind of, we knew what we had coming back, and really the way that guys bought into their roles around Julian and Casey really made that year. We had two great players, but we had guys that, Bryce Hall stepped up and hit two humongous threes against Cave Spring in the state quarterfinals there. And just guys made plays all year. And it was a ton of fun to coach. Great group of guys.
Okay.
You gonna let me go? No, thank you, sir. Coach, no, just wanted to ask a question. Something come up in my on my job actually about accountability. And I know we talked about this a little bit a little while ago, but one of the questions was this. And Greg, what kind of teammate are you? If your teammates do something, are you quick to blame? And I go back to my playing days, and I know that there was somebody that had some kind of terrible something other happen. They committed an error. They did this, they did that. But I'm telling you right now, for the life of me, and it might be just me being old, I can't remember that. But I can tell you this, I can remember every game or every opportunity that I screwed up that cost our team a game. I can remember every play that I messed up that cost us something. Is that something that you're looking for with, as you as a coach and as go along with your players as well?
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. What kind of teammate you are is such a huge measure of who you are as a person. And so guys' reactions to not only their own mistakes, but their teammates as well goes a long way towards determining what kind of team we have. Just the way guys stick together when things go wrong. Being willing to pick up a teammate who made a mistake, being willing to find that balance between, you talked about accountability, balance between making sure that guys are learning from their mistakes and that they know when they made a mistake, and picking up a teammate who needs it. Right. And that's always such a huge balancing act as a coach too. We talk a lot about there are going to be mistakes. There are mistakes that we tolerate. There's never a good turnover, but I'll take a turnover where you're pitching the ball down the floor, trying to hit a teammate for a layup over. I made a sloppy, we call it a parachute pass across half court that got picked off for a dunk the other way. Right. And there's a difference too between, I didn't get back on D, right? I didn't run down the floor. Mistakes of effort you can't have, I think, if you're going to have the kind of culture that you want to have. And so it's knowing that guys know which kind of mistakes you can live with as a team, and which kind of mistakes have got to be fixed and addressed right away. For sure.
As a player for that guy, I remember all the games he got kicked out of or thrown out of. So that's what I remember most. I wanted to ask you about the Roanoke area basketball, and just in general. I mean, it seems like this year, they said it was deep, and you had PH, Wayne Fleming, Case Spring, plenty of others too. Hidden Valley,
Salem,
Salem. Gosh.
Yep.
What is Northside? I mean, you guys have been the big dogs for the last few years. I mean, where do you guys fit in there? I mean, how has basketball grown in the Roanoke area?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited about this next year. Like I said, I like the guys that we've got coming back. I like the guys. We've got some guys coming up from JV that I'm really excited about. And our goal every year is to compete. Whatever the record is, we want to be there in every game. Playing our hearts out and giving ourselves a chance to come out on the right side. I think it's going to be, we've lost some tremendous players from the area. Hidden Valley graduates a bunch of guys. Cave Spring loses Sean Turner. PH has had some guys graduate and leave, but I think there's going to be plenty back. Cave had some younger guys. Ashton Cornett's a fantastic shooter. He'll be back. Hidden Valley still has, as much as they lose, they've still got 23. the younger Noah Wommeldorf, is a super athletic player. He's another good shooter. They've got plenty that people will need to worry about. And so I think it's in a good space, and having seen some of those younger guys coming up with some of these teams, I think it's going to be another competitive year. So I'm looking forward to being right in that mix and seeing where we come out.
Coach, as a fan, being at these games, like a Northside Cave Spring game, you see Coach Pope on one side, you see Jacob Bruce on the side. Both guys are very out there and make sure that the referees hear them, and you can definitely tell, hear their presence. From your perspective, I mean, how intense are these rivalries, and what have you seen in those games?
Those are incredibly fun games to coach in. Having coached in the second seat in those games, Cave Spring's always a huge game. William Fleming's always a huge game. We've been really fortunate the last few years that we've had some great coaches around here, and we've had some great battles. Cave Spring has gotten us a number of times. Certainly some times that stick in our heads that we're not going to forget anytime soon. And I think the great thing about this area is that some of that's changes as you go too, right? And that's another thing that's great about the public schools too, is you get who lives there, right? And so these things always go in cycles. We've got so many games that have been, we got great community support. We got people coming out. The gym is loud. Those are just the most fun games to coach in. And that's the other thing we tell guys, is really, if you're not having fun in these kinds of games, you either need to get a pulse or go do something else. Cause it's just a blast, and it should be. We have those games that we get up for. But I think the great thing, and what's made Northside what we are the last 10, 12 years, is that the amazing thing about the teams like that Nick Price was on, that Julian and Casey and Cy and Michael, and is they showed it every game too. I mean, there were not a whole lot of upsets with those guys, because they put that much importance on every game, and they gave that respect to every opponent, that they were going to show up and take care of business. And and there's always games where you have the players and the other team doesn't, or vice versa. But I think they didn't have those games where they just no-showed it. And so while there's huge games that we love and the community has circled on the calendar, just the fun of coming out there and competing every single day, I love.
Coach, I got you some trash talking for that guy that just so happens to coach over there at Cave Spring. You know that guy.
All right. Yeah.
So, you can do it at tip off. You can do it whenever you want to, but just tell him that he looks 10 pounds heavier on TV, and let him stew on it for like a quarter, and then come back and tell him Gregory and Devin said so, and then he'll really know. It'll really hurt him then.
Absolutely, be all in his head.
So my kind of last question would be this: we talked to Michael and we talked to Cy about a year ago, and we understand that there's really not really good dancing after big wins from a certain individual. So we were just kind of curious. I mean, are your moves better, or have you started working on them for that first win and that state championship and all that? Are you getting ready?
Absolutely, practicing every day. No, I've got a 2-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Okay.
And so they, it's, as a parent, you do what you got to do to get them through the day and keep everybody excited about life. So plenty of dance parties in our house. I don't know if my moves are necessarily any better than coaches. I'm not gonna talk any trash on that. But there will be dancing. Absolutely. It's part of the fun. It really is.
I love that. Coach, last couple for me as well. Talk about the schedule for next year. I mean, most of the time for football, if it's in a cycle, you can just flip flop, home and away. How similar will the schedule look like for next year? Will you guys also be doing the Northside Invitational again?
Yeah, we will absolutely have the Northside Invitational. Continue on. We've got most of our teams all set for that, and really excited about the competition. We'll be getting that out there here in the coming months. Really pretty similar schedule. A lot of it with the Blue Ridge District, obviously, that's predetermined. We play the Roanoke County schools, and so a lot of those same matchups that we look forward to every year are going to be right on there. So yeah, pretty similar. Look forward to getting those dates out there here in the coming days.
And Coach, for just the immediate part, as far as the summer goes, I know a lot of team camps and a lot of summer leagues and whatnot. What's the summer look like for the Vikings?
Yeah, so we're trying to get that set at the moment. Just having been officially introduced a few days ago. We're a little we're just kind of getting that going. We'll have our own team camp in June. We host one every year. We'll continue to do that. And so we've got some great team camps. It'll be June 16th and 17th. Some great games there. And then we'll do a couple others. We haven't nailed those down yet. But yeah, definitely we'll get a few looks at some competition outside. We always say we get to the summer, by the time you get there, you're just ready to beat on somebody else. You're done playing against your own guys. So that'll be great. Really looking forward to the summer.
Love it. Guys, any other questions for Coach?
Yeah, I think I'll ask him one last one, since you live in Franklin County now, Gregory, and you're close to Roanoke. Coach, I mean, it would be a pleasure, and I know it's hard, and we talked about this once upon a time, doing something like this, but maybe, just maybe, if you got time, or maybe we could, you wouldn't even have to act like you got time, to just give us some kind of access. Maybe we could follow you around on your first home date there, and just kind of get the life and times of the new coach there for that first game.
It'd be cool. No, I love it. I love what y'all do for local sports around here. It's great. Good for the community to be able to get some good direct access to folks. So really appreciate you having me on today, and appreciate what y'all do for sports here in Southwest and Southside Virginia.
Well, we can't thank you enough as well, and we can't, congratulations, and
thank you.
We look forward to see you in action, actually.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes,
Coach
Thanks,
Jake
Coach.
Paysour there of Northside Vikings. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you, buddy.